Ever made a stupid excuse for skipping school? Well, you're not alone. We've all been there trying to craft the perfect alibi to avoid that dreaded math test or history presentation. But let's face it, some excuses are more creative than others, and by creative, I mean downright stupid. From alien abductions to time travel mishaps, the lengths some of us will go to dodge a day of school can be almost impressive, if they weren't so ridiculous. But before we dive into the world of absurd alibis, let's remember the importance of honesty and responsibility. School isn't just about grades, it's about shaping us into responsible individuals. So, while we chuckle over these laughable excuses, let's also take a moment to reflect on the value of showing up, doing our best, and owning our actions. Stick around as we count down the top 5 stupidest excuses for skipping school. Starting our countdown at number 5, we have the extraterrestrial excuse. I was abducted by aliens. Now, I don't know about you, but if I were an alien traveling light years across the universe, I would probably have more interesting things to do than abduct a school-going Earthling. But let's entertain this idea for a moment. Even if we overlook its glaring absurdity, this excuse is riddled with so many logical holes, it's almost comical. Firstly, why would aliens return you just in time for the next day of school? Are they so considerate of your educational needs? Or maybe they've got a soft spot for algebra. And then there's the issue of evidence. In an age where everyone carries a high-definition camera in their pocket, wouldn't there be some proof? A blurry photo, a shaky video, or even a single vague tweet? The absence of any corroborating evidence makes this excuse as flimsy as a sheet of paper. And then there's the issue of credibility. Unless your teacher is a hardcore sci-fi fan or a conspiracy theorist, it's highly unlikely they'll buy into your intergalactic adventure. So, how can we tweak this excuse into something a bit more believable? Well, instead of going galactic, let's keep it terrestrial. How about this? I was caught up in a rare meteorological event. Unusual? Yes. Possible? Definitely. This explanation has the advantage of being verifiable. Your teacher can check the weather reports, and there you have it, a perfect alibi. Remember, the key to a good excuse isn't about how grand or fantastical it is, but how plausible it can be. By keeping things within the realm of the possible, you're far more likely to be believed. Next time, maybe opt for something a little less out of this world. At number 4, we have the superhero excuse, I had to save the world. Now, this one might sound like a page ripped straight out of a comic book, but believe it or not, some folks have actually tried to pull this off. As much as we'd love to believe in the existence of real-life superheroes, trying to convince your teacher or boss that you were out saving the world is, quite frankly, a stretch. Let's dissect why this excuse falls flat. Firstly, it's implausible. Unless you can fly faster than a speeding bullet or leap over buildings in a single bound, it's unlikely anyone's going to buy this story. Secondly, it's unverifiable. Unless there's breaking news about a meteor hurtling towards Earth that mysteriously disappears, how could anyone corroborate your superhero duties? So, you might be wondering, what if there's a kernel of truth behind this outlandish excuse? What if you're not a superhero, but you did have an urgent responsibility that kept you away from school? Well, in that case, there's a better way to frame your excuse. Instead of claiming to have saved the world, be honest about the responsibility you had to attend to. Maybe you had to rush your little sister to the doctor, or perhaps you were helping a neighbor fix a burst pipe. These are real-life superhero moments that show your willingness to step up when needed, and they're much more believable than claiming to have battled an alien invasion. Remember, you don't have to be a Cape Crusader to be a hero. Sometimes, the most heroic acts are those that go unnoticed, but they're no less important. By being honest and straightforward about your responsibilities, you're showing a level of maturity and integrity that's far more impressive than any superhero tale. So next time you find yourself needing an excuse, remember, honesty is always the best policy. You don't need to save the world to be a hero. Sometimes it's the small acts of kindness and responsibility that truly make a difference. Remember, there are other ways to be a hero without skipping school. Number 3 on our list is the time travel excuse, I was stuck in a different timeline. Now, we're all for a bit of creativity, but this excuse really takes the cake. It's one thing to say you've overslept, but claiming to have been trapped in an alternate timeline, that's some next-level excuse-making right there. First off, let's talk about why this excuse is so absurd. Unless you're Marty McFly from Back to the Future or the Doctor from Doctor Who, it's highly unlikely that you've got a time machine stashed away somewhere. And even if you did, wouldn't you use it to make sure you were never late instead of the other way around? Not to mention there's the small matter of proving your time-traveling exploits. Unless you've got a flux capacitor or a TARDIS to show for it, most people are going to be skeptical. And let's face it, even if you somehow manage to convince someone of your time-traveling abilities, they'd probably be more concerned about the space-time continuum than your tardiness. Now, onto a more plausible excuse. We've all had those days where we've lost track of time, whether it's because we're engrossed in a book, binge-watching a series, or just daydreaming. You could easily say something like, "I'm sorry, I was so caught up in my project, I didn't realize how much time had passed." This excuse is not only believable, but it also shows that you were engaged in something productive. Remember, the key to a good excuse is to keep it simple and believable. You're much more likely to be forgiven for losing track of time than for claiming to have been stuck in a different timeline. And who knows, maybe your honesty will even be rewarded with some extra time to finish that project. In reality, a simple "I overslept" would be much more believable. Coming in at number 2 is the invisible illness excuse. I had a rare, undetectable disease. Now let's be real. The chances of you contracting a rare, undetectable disease are about as likely as finding a unicorn grazing in your backyard. It's not impossible, but it's highly improbable. And if you did happen to stumble upon this elusive illness, your first course of action probably wouldn't be to take a day off school, but rather to rush to the nearest hospital to get it checked out, right? This excuse is easy to disprove. Schools often require a doctor's note if you're absent due to illness. A doctor would struggle to diagnose a disease that's undetectable, let alone write a note for it. Plus, if you did have such a disease, there would likely be other symptoms or signs that something was amiss. Let's not forget the ethical implications. Faking a serious illness isn't just dishonest. It's also disrespectful to those who are genuinely suffering from health conditions. It's not something to be taken lightly or used as an excuse to skip school. So, what's a better argument? Well, you could just say you're feeling unwell. You don't have to have a rare, undetectable disease to feel out of sorts. Maybe you didn't sleep well, or you're feeling a bit queasy, or you're just generally feeling under the weather. These are all valid reasons to take a day off to rest and recover. Remember, it's okay to take care of yourself. It's okay to take a day off if you need to. But it's not okay to lie or exaggerate about your health. Doing so can lead to mistrust and can even have serious consequences. So, the next time you're thinking of pulling the invisible illness card, remember, it's always better to be honest about your health, even if you're just feeling a bit off. And now, the number 1 stupidest excuse for skipping school: my pet elephant sat on my homework. Now, unless you live in a wildlife reserve or are part of a traveling circus, the likelihood of owning a pet elephant is incredibly slim. And even if you did, I'd wager they'd be better trained than to sit on your homework. This excuse can be easily disproven, friends. A simple check on local zoning laws and animal ownership restrictions would reveal the truth. And let's not forget, an elephant is not exactly a subtle creature to hide. Here's a better way to spin this: my pet caused some issues at home. This is more believable as many of us have pets and they do tend to cause unexpected problems from time to time. So instead of blaming it on an elephant, which just raises too many questions, next time maybe blame it on a more common pet like a dog or a cat. So there you have it, the top 5 stupidest excuses for skipping school. From alien abductions to superhero duties, time travel mishaps, invisible illnesses, and even pet elephant problems, we've certainly covered some imaginative territory. But as amusing as these outlandish tales may be, they underline a serious point: the importance of honesty. Honesty, as they say, is the best policy. Why, you ask? Well, let's dive into it. When we're honest, we're not only being true to others, but also to ourselves. We're acknowledging our actions, accepting our responsibilities, and understanding the consequences that follow. And that, my friends, is a crucial life skill. In the context of school absences, honesty allows for trust and understanding to flourish. Teachers are not adversaries, they're there to help us grow and learn. When we're honest about our reasons for absence, we allow them to support us better. Maybe you're struggling with a subject, or perhaps there are personal issues affecting your attendance. Whatever it is, being open about it can lead to solutions, support, and progress. Now, that's not to say that every reason will be accepted without question. But remember, an honest excuse is infinitely more respectable than a fabricated tale about time traveling or elephant-owning escapades. And more often than not, honesty will be met with empathy and understanding. Let's not forget, honesty also saves us from the exhausting endeavor of maintaining a web of lies. It's simple, straightforward, and stress-free. Plus, a reputation for honesty will stand you in good stead in the long run, not just in school, but in life. So, as we wrap up our discussion on the silliest school absence excuses, let's take away this key point. Honesty is paramount. It's not just about avoiding punishment or getting away with something, it's about building character, fostering trust, and promoting personal growth. Remember, honesty is always the best policy. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, like, comment, and share this video if you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.